We're gonna dive right into some girl chat because we have some things to discuss, beginning with the case that has captivated national headlines. Ooh. According to CNN, that's why Lonnie was looking like that, okay? She's got some serious things to discuss. According to CNN, jury deliberations have started in the trial of Kyle Rittenhouse, the 18-year-old from Illinois who faces homicide charges after killing 2 people and wounding another at a protest last year. Check out this video of Kyle about a week ago crying as he testifies.
Oh, Lord.
Kyle, who was underage at the time, claims he acted in self-defense, while the prosecution alleges he contributed to the dangerous situation and had opportunities to flee before using fatal force. Ladies, what's your take on this whole situation? There's so many updates coming in.
Yeah, it's a lot of updates happening. For me, I think that it's about the ideology, and that's what we should be concerned with as a country. Because if this child gets off, which it looks like because of the things that's happening that he will probably get off, it really does hurt us with protests. What we want in this country and what we are allowed are peaceful protests.
Yes.
That's what we want.
It's our right.
If we don't agree with everything, fine. Let's have a protest. Let's have a peaceful protest. But we need to punish people that think that they can cross state lines, have an AR-15, and shoot people. Mm-hmm. That is the bottom line for me. That I don't care if he's talking about self-defense. Your intent was to come. When you have an AR-15, you know how dangerous that
At 17
AR-15?
years old.
At 17 years old, and also his mother drove him there.
Yes.
And it's not like she didn't know he had a weapon. You can't hide that weapon under your shirt.
Is she being charged as well?
No.
I wonder why not. Why not? She took a minor knowing that he had a rifle with him.
An unregistered
assault rifle.
Yes, exactly.
Why is she not being charged?
Well, hopefully it doesn't feel like it's going to be a fair trial.
No, it's not.
The fact that the jury is not sequestered, they can leave and find out all kinds of information.
Yep.
The fact that, you know, I don't believe him when he was crying. If you really look at the tape, he's looking over to see if the jury's looking at him. It just felt a little dramatic for me, and I understand if I was on trial, I'd be crying too.
With
but
real
it just
tears,
feels
though.
like he felt almost like a vigilante. You know, the fact that he showed up, he was a cadet. If you look at his social media, he has a lot of like Blue Lives Matter and, you know, a lot of, you know, police support, which is okay.
$3 million were donated to his defense fund.
Yep.
Yes.
So it's definitely some type of...
And I believe Ricky Schroeder was one of them.
Yes.
And not to mention, just to touch on that video footage too, I think it's interesting that you're watching his video footage today on how he's defending himself. But when you watch the video footage of him marching through those streets, carrying that rifle,
he was strong.
Looking like a one-man army looking to take down people.
Yeah.
That is not the face of somebody who's remorseful and had to defend themselves.
Exactly.
Guys, let's just keep it real. Things are handled differently in this country when you're white. And this is just the realities, and we have to have these conversations because this is the reality of what we are facing.
Right.
He currently is being able to choose his own jury, which I've never heard of.
I've never heard of.
In history, I've never heard of such a thing.
Ever.
And it's frustrating. It angers me. It makes me so angry that someone could just walk into a place and say, well, I was defending myself with, like you said, a gun that wasn't licensed. How does even the possibility of you saying it looks like he may get off infuriates me?
Right. And because of the self-defense issues, the judge is saying that the people who have died cannot be called victims. If they're not victims, then what are they?
Well, he says they could be called looters or rioters if they're talking about the situation.
Yeah, and of course they're saying that race can't come into this situation. People are saying because the victims were white. Well, they were white people that were allies to the Black Lives Matter movement.
Right.
And that does make a difference. And in my opinion, it's not that it's a race issue there, quote unquote, but people are actually, I think it's a bigger issue of how he's being treated.
Yes.
He's being treated based on his race.
But it's about politics and ideology.
Yeah.
And if you just, like I said, scrape it down to the bare basics. It's about the fact that we should be able to peacefully protest. If this guy gets off, which it looks like it is, then people will go around shooting people in the streets, and that is my fear.
No, people can't.
That's the problem.
People can't, because I know I certainly couldn't do that and get away with it. I'm sorry to say, Lonnie, I don't think you could just roll up at a protest and and shoot people and get away with it? There's
I
no
get
way.
shot
No way.
as we're doing the protest.
That's what I'm saying.
No way.
It's unheard of. This
It's
is
unheard
not
of.
normal, and it's
Yeah.
just infuriating, and we need change. There's also people right now claiming that they believe the judge has a racist past. He made a comment, I guess, when ordering food.
He seems biased already.
Yeah,
This is a
just
problem.
And then the issue is the people who make the final decision are the jurors. And
Right.
at this very moment, even though Kyle did get an opportunity to draw his jury,
Yes,
which
he
has
did.
never happened in history.
Never.
People are
Right.
bewildered at why this is happening.
Yeah.
And yes, they are limited now, but still, why was that given? His jurors right now stand 11 white jurors and 1 person of color. In the case of Ahmaud Arbery was the same thing, 11 white jurors, 1 person of color.
Yeah.
So we also have to figure out what is wrong with this representation
Yeah.
in
We
the
need
jury
equal
system.
representation.
Because
Right.
you do have to be a registered voter. There are certain things that have to take place there. But then we know we've sat on this show and talked about voter suppression and how many long lines
Right.
for people of color to actually get into the booths and just vote to be considered,
Yeah.
to be able to make it to be qualified as a juror.
And also,
you know what I mean?
want people to be part of the system. You know, last year when we were talking about voting, we were saying not voting not just for a president and a vice president. We're
Right.
talking about these judges, these type of judges that when cases like this happen, they're not being fair. They're being very impartial
Biased.
to the defendant. And so that's why
Yes.
I'm like, you know, this is the reason why we say on this show, have your kids go to school, be part of the system so that maybe in 20 years they can be a judge, that they can, you know, we have to be a part of this country. We're going to be in this country. We also have to be part of the systems
Yeah.
so that we can help change this,
Be
this,
a part
this
of the
whole
systems.
thing.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
well said.